all these people trying to make it out into some huge deal. They're like, oh, I'm insulting Indians, or I'm racist, or it's something along those lines, or you should never do that. I'm trying to make fun of Gukesh. Good enough. They think the problem is with you guys, the fans at home. They think you guys at home are the idiots for not understanding chess and being able to follow it closely. And they think I would tell you what Gukesh should do if he wins is he should just on stage just start standing up, and they should cue up the Bollywood music, and he should start dancing or something. Like, you should start dancing at the chessboard in front of me, something like that. And that would not. And there we go. Yeah, so people are probably asking me about the event. Yeah, it was a fantastic event. One of my favorite events in recent times, without a doubt, for quite a few reasons, which we will get into. First and foremost, very, very important that people need to understand context. And this is not just about chess, this is about life in terms of everything. Now, one of the big problems these days with social media is there are a lot of clips that are like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, sometimes even like 30 seconds from like long form interviews, that are completely taken out of context, and people have no idea what's even being said. So it's very important to point that out, because the context around this event, the US-India match, was a entertainment event. It was an exhibition. It was an attempt to try and show that chess can be a live sporting event with a big audience cheering for their players, who they root for, their content creators, and everything else. And this is really important in terms of what the event was aiming to achieve. So the reason this is important is because as soon as there were some clips that started appearing on the internet, I actually didn't see it immediately, but the following day I heard a little bit about it. I checked very briefly before pretty much just ignoring social media altogether. But there are all these people trying to make it out into some huge deal. They're like, oh, I'm insulting Indians, or I'm racist, or it's something along those lines, or you should never do that. I'm trying to make fun of Gukesh. Obviously, the reality is it was an entertainment event. Now, if this were a professional event, let's just say the candidates, for example, or world championship match, of course you would never do anything like that. Nobody would. Doesn't matter whether it's me, Magnus, Hans, Anish, whomever it might be. Nobody would ever do something like that. But this event was purely an entertainment event. It was an attempt to try and show that you can have fans in person watching this very, very boring game of chess, because it has a fast time control. Pieces are going everywhere, and the players are showing some personality. So my most insulting part is finding out my goat is a noodle arm. Incorrect, you guys. Two things about the king throw, actually, since people are asking. First thing, because of the way the king is shaped, I couldn't take the king and really throw it like a baseball. If the king were shaped like a baseball, I would have just thrown it like probably halfway deep. But the problem is, because of how a king is shaped, I had to underhand it, because if you try to throw it, you might accidentally hurt someone. I'm not actually joking when I say that. Like, if you take a chess piece and you throw it straight like a baseball, you might actually hurt someone. Like, it's not a joke. So that's why I underhand it. If somebody wants to actually see me throw a baseball, I'm a lefty, and I actually, if I ever have a chance to do a ceremonial first pitch, like I'll throw it from the mound and not from the ceremonial rubber ahead. I'll go all the way out to the mound and throw a proper first pitch at a baseball game if someone doesn't believe me. So that's my first bit for the guy who says I've got a noodle arm. I mean, I'm a southpaw, I'm a lefty. I think I could throw from the outfield on probably like 3 hops, maybe 2 hops, maybe 3 hops. I think I could probably throw it from about like the middle of right field to home plate. So for anyone who doesn't actually believe me, I can try sometime. But yeah, anyway, to answer your question though, actually that was in my mind when I took it to throw it. Like, I had to underhand it, because if you throw it straight like a baseball, you're gonna end up hurting someone. You're gonna end up hurting someone. I'm not joking. I did play a little baseball when I was very, very little, and I always went out and did catch a lot with my brother until probably I was like 13, 14. But yes, I'm a lefty. I'm also a switch hitter as well. But unfortunately, I wasted my life on the stupidly boring game called chess, instead of trying to be a professional baseball player. So very, 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 very poor life decisions by me. We all know that. But it is what it is. Yeah, I'm a switch hitter though. I'm a switch hitter. So anyway, as I was saying, that's why I underhand it, because you can't throw it like a baseball, and there's no other way to give it unless you're going to go and walk and hand it to someone. It doesn't work. So that's the main bit that I'm going to say, is that it was entertainment. We were told to do something to the king. We were told to do something after the game. Levy was told that basically you could, we were all told because we were there, but basically it was like try and break the king or do something. One of the most hilarious things about it though, is that they only brought 2 of these chess sets. So because they only had 2 sets, the first 3 players couldn't do anything creative. So that's why your throw looks so silly. Exactly. Yeah, if it were a baseball, I would have just thrown it right into the crowd, or a tennis ball, or whatever it is. I would have just done a normal motion. But because it was a king, I had to underhand it, so it's like it's in the air, so someone can try to catch it normally. That's why I did it underhand. But anyway, so yeah, as far as the event went, like Levy, Cigar, myself, and Gukesh, we were told very clearly that we should do something creative, because of course if someone else does it creative, you can't play the rest of the games because they don't have a complete DGT set. So it wasn't 100% pre-planned, but we were told to do something, and I had already discussed it. I think even Levy and I had spoken about it at the technical meeting. It's like I think I said something like, yeah, of course I'm going to throw it into the audience. Show the watch. Yes, here's the watch for anybody who's wondering. I'll do it better later. But anyway, yeah. So of course it was not about an insult. Even after everything ended, I spoke to you guys very briefly. I said it's nothing personal. It was part of the show. And then we started discussing the game very briefly. So it's really funny, all these people on the internet who are out there acting like this is like the end of the world, like, you know, something horrible has happened, or, you know, somehow India has been insulted or offended when it had nothing at all to do with that. So yeah, it was just all around, you know, a lot of fun. I had a great event. There were probably 1,100 plus fans there in person. I actually, you know, one thing I did that the other players didn't do, some of you guys who are watching might have noticed this, is when I did my last stream on I think Wednesday or Tuesday and Wednesday, when I did my streams, I actually spoke about how I thought that when you bought the tickets for $140, you would get to meet the players in the fan zone. And that was actually not the case, so I apologize to people who showed up and thought we'd be there and missed us. But I actually did go to the fan zone for about 30 minutes, from about 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. before the event began, just because I felt like I'd said something and, you know, evidently it was wrong, but I still nonetheless took time out of my schedule to go and do that. So I took some time out of my schedule to go to the fan zone. So those of you guys who were there in the fan zone, if you missed me, I apologize. I know I said that we would all be there. Ultimately, we weren't. But for those of you guys who were there, you know, I hope you got your signed autographs, signed flags, signed shirts, and everything else. So it was very good. So I can't imagine Gukesh showing your king. I'll give you an example of what Gukesh should do. Now, assuming we go to India and play a match in India, I would tell you what Gukesh should do if he wins, is he should just, like, on stage, just start standing up and they should cue up the Bollywood music and he should start dancing or something. Like, he should start dancing at the chessboard in front of me, something like that. And that would not insult, that would be no insult at whatsoever. Like, I actually find that very, very exciting and good for the fan experience. You know, there are a couple important factors. Without getting too deep into the weeds, there are two important factors. First factor that needs to be added is that what was I going to say? The first, there were two things I was going to say. Let me try to remember my train of thought. The first thing that's really, really important here is that, you know, too many people in chess, like people like Emil Satovsky, so I'll say it, they do not understand that chess is inherently a very boring game. The view of people in the governing bodies of chess and at the top is that they think the product of what chess is currently is good enough. They think it's good enough. They think the problem is with you guys, the fans at home. They think you guys at home are the idiots for not understanding chess and being able to follow it closely, and they think the product of chess is good enough. Now, I completely disagree 100%. I think the reality of chess is, and people, of course, professionals, people, and elitists will be mad at me for saying this, chess is an extremely boring game. Let's not pretend, okay? Chess is an extremely boring game. You have to be a very high-rated player. You probably have to be about 1,1800 over the board, which is like 2,200 online, in order to be able to understand what the top players are doing. You have to reach an extremely high level where you put hundreds, if not thousands of hours into the game in order to be able to follow. That is just a reality. That is just a fact. So I do believe that chess fundamentally is very boring. If you want the fans to be excited, there has to be more to it. Now, there are a couple ways to do that. One of the ways to try and do that is, of course, you don't have players sitting there for 30 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, and pause chant for 30 minutes. When you have pause chant for 30 minutes, of course it's going to be very, very boring. Now, I know somebody like Emil is obviously going to say something like, well, but the candidates gets great viewership, world championship gets great viewership, you're making stuff up. I know that's exactly what he's going to say. But the reality is that classical chess as a whole is very boring. Nobody wants to watch it. So the way that you try to make it quicker is, of course, you have formats like Blitz, or say 10-minute Blitz Rapid, whatever you want to call it. You have faster time controls, which keeps people engaged more because it's a very short time control. So, the reason that I mentioned that is because I feel that if you want chess to be really exciting, you need the fans to have something to get excited about. You need some engagement between the players and the fans. You can't have this product where the fans just literally see the players and there's no interaction, there's nothing. Because why do you want to show up to an event? Why do you want to watch chess? Why do you want to get interested? So many people can't follow it to begin with that it makes no sense. Additionally, the second part to that is one of the things that I've noticed over the years. regardless of where I've been in the world, is that when chess is played, when it's blitz chess, let's just say in a park, people, even if they don't understand what the players are doing specifically, they're able to follow and they understand something exciting is happening because there's a lot of quick moves, you're hitting the clock, all sorts of stuff is going on. So even if they don't understand the game, they'll follow it. So now the second point that I want to make, and this is actually another very important point, is that one of the big problems in chess is that a lot of people involved, and no, this is actually not specifically about Emil, but this is a general point, is because people who've played chess for their entire lives have played this game that is a zero-sum game where one guy wins, one guy loses, or even in a tournament, Magnus wins, everybody else finishes in last place. Like, that is sometimes the reality. If you come from the world of playing chess professionally, you view everything as zero-sum. So for somebody like Emil Satovsky, he basically is looking at this a massive threat to his fiefdom, running FIDE. It's a threat to classical chess, a threat to everything he's trying to do. But my view of the whole thing is that you can actually have both. I've used this reference before, but I would say that if you look at wrestling, there is Olympic wrestling, which nobody watches, by the way. There's Olympic wrestling, which is very professional. You know, I have actually watched it occasionally, like Greco-Roman wrestling, all this other stuff in the Olympics, and that is professional. That is very, very serious. But everybody knows the wrestling that people truly watch and enjoy is not the Olympic style wrestling. It is, of course, the world. It is, of course, WWF, or that's what it was when I was growing up. You know, World Wrestling Federation. That is what people watch. As a kid, did I watch wrestling? Of course I did. I'm not gonna lie. Every Thursday night on the UPN Channel 9 in New York, I watched that and I loved it. I always was waiting until it was like 10 minutes before the end, and you had the final match with like Kurt Angle or Triple H or The Rock. Maybe The Undertaker was sometimes a part of it. Like, I loved it. I know it's WWE now, you guys, but when I grew up, it was the WWF. But anyway, WWE, WWF, whatever you want to call it, that is what people watch because it's very dramatic. You enjoy it. Now, make no mistake, I don't think that in chess you should have someone hitting. I don't think it's a good thing if, like, I whack Gukesh with a steel chair, or, you know, like Levy hits Cigar in the head or slaps him or whatever. I don't think you should have stuff like that. But the comparison that I'm making is that the fact of the matter is you can have things that compete alongside each other. And so I think it's very unfortunate that people like Emil in the world of chess, they view everything as zero-sum. They think that, you know, this is going to somehow take away from them. You can have multiple things that exist. And this is one of the reasons this is one of the reasons that chess, actually, I would argue, has not become bigger, because people do not actually try to work together in the world of chess. Everyone is trying to protect their own little bit or little piece that they control, and that's the unfortunate reality. If you look at what I believe to be one of the problems with chess right now, is there's a big fragmentation. You have FIDE doing all their stuff, you have all these individual organizers doing their own things, everybody's doing their own little thing, and people refuse to work together because when you look at chess, it's a zero-sum game. So people end up applying that exact same mentality when they're trying to run their groups or run their organizations, and that's one of the hugest problems with chess currently. It's a huge problem. So I actually, you know, the one of the crazy things is, outside of a few very loud people on the internet, everybody loved the event. The 95% of people who were watching the event in person, they loved it. If we had an exit poll or like a questionnaire or something with people up, I would bet that 95% of the people in person loved the event. They absolutely loved it. It was like the greatest thing they'd ever seen. Maybe not greatest thing they've ever seen, but in terms of chess event, I bet they would say it was the greatest thing they'd ever seen for chess. And they had a good time. The fans spent money. They bought tickets. You know, there were 1,100 people playing. So it was incredible. It was incredible. So, yeah, you are the biggest gatekeeper. Yeah, I'm the biggest gatekeeper because I'm literally pushing something that's going to benefit players who are not at the absolute top. But sure, whatever. Also, Danny had no involvement. Chess.com had no involvement in this event. So thank you for the comment. Thank you. That's wow. Whew, wow. One of the great things also about this is, I'm just going to say this, and this will annoy some people too, chess should be about expanding the potential for people to earn a living. Now, in terms of playing chess currently, the only people who make a living are probably the top 20. Maybe the people in the top 50, they make a living, but they struggle. It's tournament to tournament. But maybe the top 20 players in the world make a good living. Now, with an event like this, can you imagine if there were, like, say, 5 or 10 of these events over the course of a year? And players like Carissa Yip, who currently is the top female player in America, but frankly, a lot of female players don't make a great living. Can you imagine if there are 5, 10 of these events or even more, and people get paid? You have people who are 2,400, like Tawny. You know, his prospects of making a living in chess, unfortunately, are very, very low. They just are. Unless he becomes a 2,700 plus player. So this is a chance to also expand it so that other players have a chance to make a living. And if I really were gatekeeping, I'd be like, nah, you know what? I just want to protect it for the top 10, protect my rating, protect the top 10, only elite tournaments, nothing else. So it was as good as an NFL game, really. Well, if it was good as an NFL game, that's actually a great compliment. Great compliment. Isn't that what sponsors are for? Right, but the problem is, the only way that you're going to get big sponsors, you guys, is if you actually have real interest. And one of the ways to generate real interest is look at sports. Do you think that if I were at home, I would be excited by watching Tom Brady throw a football? There's so much more to it. You have the merch. Now, by the way, at the event, they were selling jerseys of the players. This is something that FIDE, for example, has failed miserably at because they only focus on themselves and they don't actually think about the players. So you had jerseys, you had merch that you could sell. There were flags, jerseys. I think there were t-shirts, there were tote bags, everything else. Additionally, on top of that, what else there was is, there was the fact that you could interact directly. You could interact. So you actually, it's more than just watching one stupid, boring game of chess. That's the reality. So in my opinion, I think it was great. I think it has potential. I think if they're able to have in-person events where you can draw these big audience, fans get excited, and you're not just, it's not boring. I believe that there is potential to do more with this. I do. So I thought everything that was done was really, really good with the event. I was really happy with it. We've seen some blunders in this game that I'm watching. Yeah, it was really, they had sweaters, they had everything. They had everything. No, it was really, really good. I'm playing Title Tuesday in a second, but I'm just talking to you guys. They dislike the fact that only US players have white pieces. Two things about the actual format. I actually personally thought the format can be tinkered with, but there are two things. Even though the format can be tinkered with, the score is not reflective of the outcome. For example, I very easily could have lost my match to Gukesh. Maybe I should have. Tawny very easily could have lost his game against Ethan Voss. And Cigar very easily could have beaten Levy. So even though it ended up being 5-0, there were 3 matches which could have gone either way. Like, you could argue I should have lost to Gukesh. You could definitely argue that Levy should have lost the Cigar shot. So the score, I think, is not reflective. I think we'll have a better idea after the India leg. If the India leg, assuming it happens, is 5-0 India, then I would argue the format does need to be changed. But if India wins the match, say 3-2, or it's 4-1, 3-2, whatever it is, I would argue that you can't really say that makes a difference. So I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll see. Anyway, those are my general thoughts on the on the actual event. I thought it was fantastic. The players entered the stage. One other thing that I would say is, for all the naysayers out there who are really negative about it, one of the worst, like literally the worst part. No, the fans did not distract me. I love the fans. One of the things that people really miss, and this is the last point I'm going to make because we have to get set up with Proctor and everything, is that people really don't understand how lonely playing chess professionally is. Like, it is one of the worst things in the world that you can do. Because when you play chess, it's all about your success and you celebrate on your own. There's nothing more to it. So it's like, if you go play a 7-hour game and you win this masterpiece in the last round of a tournament or something like that, you don't celebrate. Like, you can celebrate on your own or with a player or two, whomever, but you never really get validated for what you're doing with your life. That is the reality. You never get validation. And with the fans cheering, like, it actually felt like they cared about what we're doing for maybe one of the only times in my life as a professional player. Like, that is the fact. So I think even if it could have been a little distracting, I think even by the end, the Indians actually liked it too. And I'll give you another good example. So there was the third game between Divya and Carissa Yip. And Divya, obviously on a big heater, she's been playing great chess. You could almost arguably probably the best female player in the world right now, alongside Zhu Jenner. But argue the best player in the world. She blundered very, very early. Fans did not say move. She blundered very, very early in the game. And she was lost by like move 10. But then when Carissa got into one or two spots where she had to think for a while, the fans were like, go Divya. They're rooting for her. They're making noise for her, cheering for her. And I can tell you, as someone who's played chess professionally, that is one of the worst feelings. You're like, you blunder early, you're losing a game, you're playing a team event, and you feel horrible. But to have those fans actually cheering for you, it makes you feel a lot better about the whole situation. So anyway, you guys, we're gonna have to start with Title Tuesday. It begins in 8 seconds. So let me open Proctor and let's get going. But it was great. I love the event. I think that if you can have fans who get interested in the game, you can do bigger events. It can be really exciting. There was no cheating or signaling. Also, I would add for one other point for anybody who's wondering on that note. 1 second. There we go. Who's this? Okay, let me get my phone. 1 second.
tell you, I'll never do you no harm. Believe me, darling. When you told me, you didn't need me more. Well, you know, I nearly broke down and cried. When you told me.
Will we see you celebrating like crazy? Okay, there we go. All right, 1 second. Let me get the scene set up. Should be good. Looks good to me. Okay, so what did Fabi think about this? I'm sure Fabian will talk about it. I think Fabi enjoyed it. I think he enjoyed it. And you know, another thing that's very important is the context of what the event is. The context of the event is very, very important because Magnus is playing. Context of the event is very, very important because this is an event that is fun. It's for entertainment. You know, there's a place for entertainment type events and there's a place for professional events. And that's the biggest problem that I have with the whole thing is that when you have people at FIDE trying to when you have people at FIDE trying to make it out to be, you know, this huge, horrible thing, multiple things can exist. And I think if you ask Fabiano, he's going to tell you he loved the event because the context of what the event was is very important. It was about entertaining the fans. It was about putting on a show for the fans. It wasn't an event where it's like, you know, there's $100,000 on the line and someone's like, you know, you hear some loud noise in the audience because that's a different scenario. If you're playing for that kind of prize money and something that's super serious, that's how it should be. So, you know, both can exist alongside each other, and I think they should. And I you know, my view is that I don't think this detracts in any way from the serious events, and I think that's the biggest problem. The marketing was not done properly. Well, there's one problem when people say the marketing wasn't done properly in the event. It's kind of hard to do marketing when you've never done an event before. You've never done an event before, and honestly, I think the chess community had no idea. The chess community had no idea that it was going to be the way that it was. So now everybody knows what it is. Everybody knows what it is. So when there's the next event, you're going to know what it is. No, I mean, I'll tell you why FIDE is acting like this. They're acting like that because basically they see it as a threat because they think there's only one way of chess moving forward, and it has to be FIDE and nobody else. That's why. That's the simple reason. Simple reason. That's the simple reason why FIDE is acting the way they are, because they feel threatened and they think there's only room for one vision, and they think it's going to take away from them. When in reality, multiple things can exist, and that's just how it is. No, Hikaru is exactly the same in person as he is on stream. Super approachable. Just lucky to have him. I did what I could. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was a little bit disappointed that we were not required to go to the fan zone before the games. But even though we weren't, I took 30 minutes I took 30 minutes before the games began. I went to the fan zone to try and sign as much stuff as I could. If anybody was there, as I said earlier, I apologize because when I did my stream, I thought all the players would have to be in the fan zone, and they didn't. So I do apologize for that. But I did what I could. I showed up. So you know, I tried my best. Their salaries depend upon it. Well, if FIDE's salaries depend upon it, that means FIDE sucks because they can't get real sponsors. Why does Mill hate me? I mean, he hates me for many reasons. But we don't need to get into it. There's so many things I could say about Emil that I won't say, but there are a lot of things I could say. A lot of things that I could say. So, also, I think something, as I said before, something where players can make money, like if you have like a league or something and you have fans showing up, you know, buying merch, cheering for the players, it's something more than just an individual game. That can only be good overall in the long run. That can only be good. Next time do that in front of Magnus. You know, I wouldn't care if I play Magnus and he does that. I would be thrilled to see Magnus do that, and I'm sure Magnus would do that. Magnus would like he'd probably break the king, or like, you know, take the king and snap it over his foot or something like that. I would be all for that. I would be all for that. I would love that. Because as I said, for me, the starting point for all this stuff is that if you want chess to be bigger, you have to admit to yourself that chess is a very boring game fundamentally. For someone who has not put in hundreds or thousands of hours, chess is very boring. It's very hard to follow. And most people actually approach it the other direction. They think there's something wrong with the fans and not something wrong with the product. And there's something wrong with the product and not the fans. That's how it goes.